Okay, so we have it next is a sky options where we have it sky map, and you notice like on a back we have a different, so we can go to load it or we can modify. For example, if I want to bring a little bit darker on the edge, greener, I can add, it will add a little bit more color, and let's, for example, on top we'll add more saturations, so you can see how we can modify easy. Of course, some of this white on the end is will affected by fog, and so we'll change just in a second. Okay, right here. Next, we have also color map position sky dome, so we can increase that, the position, and you can see stretch bring these colors up. Okay, map height. We also have ability to distort the color based on the sun. So in this case, sun pull color map down. So you can see right on the side when we start adding that right here how our color map is now changing from the darker blue. Okay, let me go bring even more down this one right here. You can see how our sun affecting. Again, this is applied to the standard. When we work with different models, the options will be different. So as next we have fog and sky thickness and altitude. So if I decrease fog, you can see right on the bottom, now we start having a little bit more original sky. We also can reduce of the maximum altitude, create just smaller fog on the side. Okay, clouds. Here's interesting things when we add clouds, because we can add standard and other ones. They're not necessarily all will work exactly the same. So cumulus clouds, for example, they are bolometric, but they're not supported by this atmosphere. So it will create kind of funny type of looking clouds. In this case, be sure we just using properly type of the clouds for this. Let's go delete it. Okay, we'll go preload our clouds. We'll go in a clouds effect. And right here you can see we have a different type. So for this one, we want to use it or other clouds, some older one. We can also use it stratus. For example, if we preload this one, you can see they work very well because this is kind of layer. And if we look, it's just one simple flat layer to create those clouds, which is work okay for the standard atmosphere. When we start working on different type of atmosphere models, you'll notice different type of clouds will representing. But overall, if for some reason clouds does not look right, be sure your model is set that support this type of the clouds. Clouds overall, when we preload it, cloud layer, you can modify and adjust, so we can preload it different type clouds and position overall in the cloud layer viewer. It's not important. This what will be affecting it's by the altitude of positioning. However, below this we have it access, so we can access to the material editor for specific clouds and modify them this way. As I mentioned, the altitude is what important will affect of position. So if I take my turbulence cloud and bring down to 1 kilometer, you can see the position right here is changed. So in some cases, when you look in cloud layer viewer, you can see which cloud located higher or lower. So for example, I want to bring them a little bit up. So I'll bring them higher level, and I want to reduce thickness, reduce cover. This has helped me to modify these clouds so they will kind of look more realistic. Let me disable and just concentrate on one cloud. You already notice we have an altitude, which is how high clouds can go. We have a thickness near horizontal. If we're using different model of the clouds, some of the properties will modify, and we'll check them as we're going again over different type of models. We have it cover. By default, it's 50%. It's how much of the actual cover applied of the materials to this cloud. It does not work with the density, because density is apply how much light penetrating through the clouds. So we can increase density. You can see right these areas where the cloud penetrated. But if we reduce cover, it will increase those areas where lights can go through. So cover reduce some amount of clouds, but density, how dense cloud it is. So we have it also global exposure, which is make our clouds brighter, reflect on a light, or get it darker. Okay, by default it's set 0. Okay, we also have it light balance, based if it's going from the sunlight receiving coloring, or it's going from the ambient, and you remember ambient color right here. So this is our ambient or light color. So overall this is balance, will apply between those two colors, how much it will affect. We also have an effect of the contrast for our clouds. Okay, in some cases will affect it. And as well we have options to increase global illuminations or decreasing it by using the model, and also effect of the clouds near sun. So let's go right here, we'll increase near sun, and then some you will see the glowing little bit increased of the clouds. Again, based on the model, standard is very basic model, so some effects won't be this viewable or affected same as the work for other models. Okay, next we have a sky fog, fog and haze, which is applied to our fog. The density of the fog we can have right here. You can see it's applied. The also altitude, and the graph it's represent how high it will our altitude. So we can bring little bit up, increase thickness, and it will create kind of nice effect even on our object. We also can have fog gathering on low altitudes, or it will switch on upper higher altitude, so you kind of inverse this. And also effect of the haze. Almost all the properties you can, even you go to the 1000, you can almost type way past this. So if you have at some value you need increase, but slider doesn't allow you, you can click in and type the maximum of this value. So let's go just example, we'll make a darker haze on this, and you can see it's applied to the object. However, it does not necessarily apply to the sun. Okay, let's reduce our haze. Next we have the wind, and this will apply to the our plants if we have it any. This is very standard type, would work through all models, and mostly it's a wind effect, and rain and snow will be same. So we'll have it enable wind per plane basis and enable breeze. Wind is more constant, breeze it will affect how you can preview on a plane. You can also specify wind if you're going inside the cloud. Right here you can see we have cloud animations where we can specify direction of the wind, velocity. You also can, sorry for the clouds, velocity of the clouds and rate of change, but you can specify directions on the wind. You can also specify individually on each plant of direction if you need it. Okay, so let's go back to the windows, wind, and you notice we have it enable breeze. We can specify intensity, pulsations, so it's how often, uniformity, turbulence. We can also influence the gust of the wind, and those will be very visible when you have it like a grass field of the grass, and you notice how the gusts will going like in patches. And right here you can see the turbulence applied kind of to our plant. One thing when I do single still shots, normally I even disable wind and breeze. So this is just help a little bit faster to work for me. Okay, next we have it effects, which allowed us to add stars. Okay, number of the stars, how bright stars, twinkle if you want to create the effect normally, and with listen, flare, and color stars if you want. Those color stars will randomly created, and you cannot control it. You can also add effect of the rainbow on the sun, which is again size, fallout, and this is effects are straightforward, but mostly I found personally it does not create a total realistic effect, so you can easy to add maybe in post-production. But if you're interested, you can still creating and sometimes achieve additional effect with the rainbow. Okay, we also can create ice rings around the sun. Same things, we can increase intensity, size, and a sun dog or pillars creating from sun. Some of those effects will, how say again, because we're on a standard, so you can see some effects, but they won't be that realistic because we're using standard model. And all of these options will be available for our other model for American Standard, and we'll look on them again a little bit closer when we get to standard spectral, because we can preview and render a little bit better quality. So overall, notice they're right here, and we can modify this kind of effects. We also have the ability to add default lens flare. If you remember before, we can go inside each light source and create a lens flare. We can apply here by default to all the light sources, so it will kind of like one center in places. But if you modify, be sure you kind of look on both places, which one you work. So right here we have a directional light, our lens flare, or apply to all lights if you have any additional small lights around this. Okay, next we have the reflection map, and that will apply to this object. For example, if we have it, let's take our sun on this case, move it away. Okay, we'll take our object sphere. Okay, we'll go modify, let's go preloaded something reflective. Okay, and you can notice it is reflecting back of the camera right here. So instead we can go, for example, preload reflection, and a default reflection map, if nothing is specified, it's what we'll be using in this case. Again, this will apply to our global lighting. So if you need it, apply same to our object. So right here you can see now we have the reflection map default. I enable. So and it will use it right here if you enable as the default reflection map. Okay, next we have an environment beyond the atmosphere. This was added so you can create like a star field behind the atmosphere. It's work. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll just select the map, and you can see right here. But problem with this, I found sometimes it's a wrapping around. So we can increase size. We can also offset left, right. You have some basic effect you can apply to this, rotation or other ones. But for myself personally, I found out that if I just set a planet on a back and add environment to this, I can easier control of the resizing and everything. Otherwise, I needed work with presets a little bit more on this. So kind of mapping and add higher resolution than I really needed. Okay, the last tab is rain and snow. This is part of the particles. So we can add a rain effect, which again creating, and we look before around the position of the camera, generating the particles from area around cameras. And this rain and snow, same as effect, will look a little bit closer on a standard spectral atmosphere when we go inside, because we can preview a little bit better effects. The standard atmosphere does not work very well with volumetric or other type of materials. So in this case, it does not render, doesn't give it good justice to the render or what this effect can be doing.